guaranteed you never get your students to do it, but can we cluster it together somewhat to make it easier for Mary to decide? So, kind of go together, if you don't mind. Probably on top there because we're trying to change this.
No, I'll just pick up everything you say.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get started because we don't want to take any too much time. Sit here right there. We are going to take this because there were a few folks who asked me about this and they couldn't be here. But Marion said that if there are other folks who you know of, if we get a large enough group or enough folks, she'll come back down again if we want to go through this again. But we're hoping maybe the video tape will be sufficient. The reason I invited Marion down is Marion is the employee relations manager at VCCS. She's the guru of the VCCS 29, which of course is what we use for initially hiring individuals and particularly, and most important to you, the promotion. Okay? And there's been a lot of discussion last year about promotions and what does this mean and how does this interpret, et cetera, et cetera. Eileen, of course, is chairing the appointments committee, and one of the recommendations that the appointments committee made is they felt that everybody needed to be briefed or have some explanation so that it's real clear that we're all working off the same sheet of paper on what do certain things mean. So that's why I decided that I would invite Marion down. She was gracious enough to come down today. She met with the deans today. So we've had kind of our own little briefing. We've gone through many of the same things you'll be going through, but maybe some slightly different things. She's open for questions. I had passed on a few questions to her from some faculty who couldn't be here. So I'm just going to leave it up to you. She's given you a sheet. She's going to work through that. Feel free to interact with her, dialogue with her, so that when we get ready to go through this process, then we all know what certain things mean. So I'm not going to take any more time. I'm going to turn it over to Marion Hassel. And so Marion, it's all yours. Is it coming through okay, Marty?
Yeah.
Okay. He says you can.
You are. I don't know about her.
I know I'm loud. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I'm an ordained minister, and I don't know what would happen if I got behind the podium in the middle of the week here. Who knows what I might do. I'm going to be talking to you this afternoon about the VCCS 29 basics, but how much time do you have? You want me to finish up by 3 o'clock, 3:15? 3:15. Okay.
And some of you, if you'd like her to stay, she will.
Oh, I'll stay as long. I'm going to be here, but I want to finish up for the group. But I want you to have the chance to ask questions, and I think it's always helpful if everybody's available for the questions. So I don't want to just talk all your time away. How many people know anything about the VCCS 29? Okay. Well, I want you to know that I'm not a bad speaker, but I'm not responsible for this particular presentation, because if there is a more boring subject in the VCCS and the VCCS 29, I don't know what it is. So if you fall asleep and hit your head on a table, that will not be workers' comp. Okay, so stay awake. Let's turn to page 1. And I'm going to give you a very, very quick overview of what you're looking at here. You see on the box, you see all these numbered boxes. When you go down from 1 through 19, those are the qualifications for the instructor, assistant professor, associate professor, and professor. And then as you move across and you go through 2, 3, and 4, you'll see the qualifications for the different, for both promotions and for initial hire. If you look at 26, 27, and 28 at the top of the sheet there, the first columns are for what is commonly called college transfer. Then you have the specialized professional or technical assistant assistant, applied science, and then the 28 is your certificate programs. The first column, column 1, is for hiring and promotion. Column 2 is for promotion only, and it follows that pattern across. Now, you are placed in a column as a faculty member by what you teach. Not by what degrees you come in with, but by what you teach. So, so you can see that you're in columns 1 or 2, 3 or 4, 5 or 6. Now, when it comes to being promoted, you have to follow the arrows. The arrows rule. You can't go someplace on this chart if the arrow doesn't go there. When you're hired, if you're hired as an instructor in column 2, box 2, excuse me, you see you have a choice of how you want to be promoted to assistant professor. You can go follow the arrows to 6 or 7, but if you choose 7, you can't go back over to 13. You have to follow the arrows on down. In general, when you look at this chart, as you move from left to right, you will find that the degree requirements are higher, and as you move across, the experience, the amount of experience is greater than the degrees. In other words, if you're in column 1 or 2, those are college transfer, and there you will require the master's, for instance, to be hired. Under columns 3 and 4, you could be hired, if you're in that group, you could be hired with a bachelor's, but then you see that there's more experience required in those columns until you get over to 5 and 6, which is where you will find the most years of experience. Now, sometimes when people look at it, they think this grid is the 29, but oh, it's not. If you look on page 2 and 3, you will see that these are also part of the VCCS 21. They call this the narrative section. And when we get down to, I'm trying to think of what would probably interest more of you with promotions than initial hires. So we'll move on down to that part. If you go under interpretive specifications and you go to that first little diamond, fulfillment of normal minimum criteria does not guarantee original placement in or promotion to a given rank. That means that you can meet all the requirements for a promotion and still legitimately not be given a promotion. In other words, if the committee that is reviewing your portfolios or your credentials feels that you don't play well with others, they don't like the way there's documentation that you don't treat students well, that you aren't active in the committees you're on, you don't attend even though you're assigned, other things that are a part of college life. If you have not done those, then you can be denied a promotion legitimately. Meeting the criteria, the academic and the work requirements is only one portion of it. And it's pretty much a paperwork part of it, actually. When it comes to the committee work, they look at it in a completely different way. When you're looking at it for credentials, we don't say, well, that you meet all or he or she attend the committee meetings. We don't look at that. We just look at the criteria. And when it goes on to others, that's the full part of the promotion process. So it's a paper part and the other part. And today we're going to be talking about the paper part. If you would, let's see. There is a general philosophy on the VCCS 29 and in the system in general that when you are hired, from that point on, you are progressing in your field, that you are required for promotion to be adding to your credentials and the knowledge of your field. So for instance, when you see in column, well, let's just use 6 for example, column box 6. It says that if you have required to have a master's plus 24, that means and has always been interpreted. Now, I'm not going to say the word interpreted. That's just the way it is. I've been working at this since 1978. That means that you have a master's and then you have to add those 24 graduate semester hours to that. You don't go back and dig up things to meet that requirement because you're building towards increasing your knowledge of your field from when you were originally hired. And if you would turn to page 4 on your handout, I'd like to read with you.
Do you want to ask a question?
I'd like to read this and then I'm going to come right back to you, so I'll come right back to you. 3.2.3b. For faculty whose effective employment date with the VCCS is July 1st, 1995 or any time thereafter, or for current employees who earn a master's or bachelor's degree on July 1st, 1995 or any time thereafter, only those graduate hours taken after the master's or bachelor's degree requirements are completed may be used to determine salary increments for initial salary calculations or to meet promotional requirements. For all other faculty, the equivalency factor of 30 hours for the master's will be continued. So that is the policy that supports that master's plus 24. Your question?
All right. Suppose you came in with a master's plus 35. You came in at number 6. And now you'd like to move to number 14, which requires a master's plus 39. Are you saying you can't use those hours that you had, you only got credit for a master's plus 24 to put you in box 6? Are you saying that those other hours you had taken beyond a master's, you can't count?
No, it builds. It builds. You've got.
Even if you took them before you came to Thomas Nelson?
I don't. It's not a matter of. It's not a matter of when before Thomas Nelson. It's whether you took the 24 hours after your master's degree.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. That is good.
Thank you.
It's not when you start here. It's, remember, go back to this one policy. It says it has to be after you received your master's. You get your master's, then you're continuing working in your field. You're taking classwork. You're 24. You got your 24. You're still working for your next promotion, and it all builds. Let's go back to page 3, and let's talk a little bit about interpretive specifications for promotions only. I know this is in front of you, but I'm going to read it out loud so that we're all hearing the exact same thing. Credit hour equivalency may be granted for no more than a total of 15 semester hours by either A or B below, or a combination of both during employment with the VCCS. 1, number A, active participation in given learning experiences, CEU classes, workshops, conferences, seminars, etc., when part of a plan approved by the community college president applying the following formula. B, non-teaching work experience directly related to the faculty member's field at a rate not to exceed 1.25 semester credit hours per month of full-time equivalent work experience and not to include work experience applied toward initial appointment. I will tell you honestly, these have been in effect since, I came, like I said, 1978, and these have always been around, always been available for use. There's nothing new about these. But for some reason, people are focusing on them now. I don't find B to be too much of a question, but certainly number A is, how do you go about getting something that you want to do credited towards your promotion? From a system perspective, again, I can only tell you what's in the policy. I'm just going to give you my opinion as to what I think would be the best way to do it, and then the folks at your college here will let you know exactly how they think would be best. But you cannot expect to get any type of credit for something if you do not comply with the policy. First of all, it says here that before you do anything, you have to have it as part of your plan. Now, if you don't have a plan, the least you can do is to be sure and talk about it with your dean. If you say, you know, I would really like to be able to do this and have this credited towards my promotion, this is what it would be like, and then you can work up what would be the equivalency in terms of graduate semester hour. Now remember, when you put this experience up for promotion, you're saying that what you're offering is going to be the same rigor as a graduate semester hour that somebody else might earn in the classroom. That's kind of the way that we would measure it. But this opens up so many opportunities for you to have a nice combination of activities and graduate semester hours that you could do for your next promotion. But you do need to develop a plan ahead of time. Don't come running in when it's time to get your promotion paperwork in and want so many credit hours for this and this and this that you may have done in the past. Those activities may be fine, but it doesn't give people a chance to work it out with you what would be the appropriate equivalency. And I just really think it could be exciting for you to be able to do different things to work towards a promotion. But note that it says 15 semester hours can be done in equivalencies during your employment with the VCCS. So if you would decide that, if it was approved, and this to me would be a big if, but again, I'm just my opinion. If you were going to do 10 for one promotion, let's just say we're going to do it that way, that doesn't leave you very much for the rest of your employment with the VCCS. And it's always best to have that nice mix each time. Do you have any questions?
Yes. Does this not specify over a specific period of years, like 15 years of all of the professional development opportunities and conferences in the VCCS, that would accumulate significant hours? Is there a time limit how far back you can go?
I wouldn't let you go back at all, personally, but that's my opinion. I don't think you need to. There's no policy. The policy is what you see right here. This is the only policy. The practice is what you would decide to do at Thomas Nelson. Now, going to a conference, and there's, again, I think this is where it gets to be really interesting and can offer you a lot of flexibility. If you go to a conference and you actively participate by sitting there and listening to a bunch of people talking, as opposed to going and being a presenter at a conference. You see, there's all different types of ways that conferences can be used. But that is entirely up to you and should be a part of the discussion that you have with your dean. And so whether you go back, that's up to the folks how you decide to do that here. And what conferences are going to be included and what ones aren't. Maybe if you, for instance, don't have very much graduate coursework, they might not want you to be able to count certain conferences. They want that mix again. It's all up to how the college would choose to do that.
I think some of it I can. It's kind of like when you sit down with your deans, to talk about what you want to do during the year. Part of it is just a simple declaration of this, I'm going to do workshops, etc. Then you can update that list, but you make a declaration if that's what you'd like to do, and you document that when you do your end of the year report. Keep your records on them, okay? And then because in a sense it can be approved. That does say by the president in that respect, and that's something I think we've kind of got to figure out how do we do that. But I think the key thing is that you've said up front that that's what you'd like to do, and not come in and say, I took this 10 years ago and I'm ready for promotion. I think that's what Marion is saying. Because, professional development is a part of what we're all expected to do during the course of the year, and that's what that is, and that plan is when you sit down and do your planning for the year.
I believe that we were only notified of this, that you could get credit for workshops, conferences, years ago. And at that time, I don't think it was emphasized that, you couldn't go back and count. Some of us have been going every year to national conferences, and, it seems unfair that you can't count that. And I'm not saying rush in at the last minute before promotion to your dean, that's not fair. But, sit down and go over what you've done.
I think if you pulled it together now and got it into a formal document, got Pat's approval and so on, then we could sit down and that's a stake in the ground at that point. If it hasn't been clear in the past or wasn't reinforced in the past, I think Aaron said it's always been there. It's just that it may not have been.
I don't think we were aware.
Well, let me address that with two ways. First of all, when I was telling you about not going back, I made that very clear. That was my opinion. And what I said was your college would decide how that was to be treated. So please don't let that upset you. Just be glad I'm not your college, right? The other thing is that with regard to this policy, it has been out there. It's been there since 1978. And it's your responsibility to know what the policies are. You're just responsible for knowing what the policies that affect you are. Now, it may not have been publicized at the college, and I think that when they decide on how they're going to treat the past, they can come up and they can compensate for that. But let's kind of let that go, and let's think about a way that it could be done in the future. And one of the suggestions that I have for you, and I mentioned this to the deans when I was talking to them, is that I think that the discussion of the VCCS 29 and where you are for promotion should be a part of your evaluation meeting. And you should sit down, you should not walk out of that door without knowing that this is where I am on this crazy grid, and this is what I have to do to get promoted, and this is what I plan to do for this semester, or this year. How about this year? This year. And then it's not a requirement that you do it. If something happens in your life that you're not able to do it, well then the next time you say, this is where I am, this is what I plan. I didn't quite get where I wanted to, but every single year you would know where you are and what you were going to do. There would be no surprises. If you want to go, if this conference, if this national conference is going to count, you would know at that point, if you go, how much credit you would be given. That's the other question, of course, is how much credit should be given for a conference. And that's another thing that can easily be worked out. But people, when you know what's expected of you for your next promotion, I think that you can come up with what I'm talking about, that nice mix. And that it's just, it works out better for everybody. It's always better when there are no surprises. I'm going to move on, if that's okay, oh, please ask a question.
If a situation has occurred in which someone asked and these two authority figures who were supposed to know the answer, if they met the criteria and they were told yes, and then they refused because it was wrong, they knew what they were supposed to do. They sat down and met with someone and went over it and said, I need to know if this is where it is. But the people on this campus don't know.
I have to take exception to that. Lisa Johnson and I have been working together on the VCCS 29 for how many years have we? A lot more years than what we're ever going to talk about. She knows every bit as much as I. She could, in fact, be doing this workshop today. Now, I'm not going to say that mistakes can't be made, and we'll have, if they were, we can take care of individual ones. I don't know how to address that. But if you do have people that know, and not only that, but now you know me. And I'll give you my phone number, 804-819-4935. Now, you can call me anytime you want. You don't need to, because you've got people at your college that know the answer. The phone's right, it rings right on my desk. And I'm more than happy to answer questions. It's 804-819-4935. My name is Marion Hassel. And in addition to being the employee relations manager, I also work with faculty policies, faculty situations, faculty concerns, do want to stress to you that you do have people here at campus that can help you. And sometimes when you give me a situation, unless you tell me not to, it works out better if I can call and we can work it out together with folks on the campus. I won't do that unless you let me. But sometimes people give me interpretations, and it's the way they see things. But, you know, my mother always said, no matter how you look at it, there's two slices to every bit of bread. So, but we can work out any issues that you have. Let me move up to the, let's see, it's the second little diamond on page 3. What this says is that for people who teach in the studio art, theater, or creative writing areas, that the Master's in Fine Arts is recognized as a doctorate. I'm very well aware that there are other areas where there are masters that are terminal degrees, but in the system, by policy, these are the only 3 that are recognized. And what that means for these folks is that they can be recognized, their master's is recognized as a doctorate, but they still have to have the same number of credit hours that any other full professor or associate professor would have to have. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Number D, certification. Let me read this one to you. Certification in lieu of degree will be possible for initial hiring columns 3 and 5. Business, industry, and professional certifications may substitute for educational requirements. Equivalencies must be documented, approved by the president, and placed in the personnel file as an attachment to hiring and promotion documents. I know that some of you probably hate history, but since I have you as a captive audience, I'm going to share this with you anyway. Initially, in the old days, when you had this grid, over in columns 5 and 6, there was a little 1 and a 2 that had, and when you went down to the bottom of the page, it had a statement just very similar to that about the certifications, but it was only for positions that would fall into the categories of 5 and 6. Well, during some typing, the 1s and the 2s got left off of 5 and 6, so it turned up in the bottom on the VCCS 29, and it looked like it was applicable to everybody, and that's the way it stands today. But it was never really intended that way, but it is that way now. So what it means is that certifications can be used in lieu of graduate semester hours for promotion. But we come back to the same question that we had when we were talking about other types of experiences being credited. How much credit should be given? And again, I don't have any answer for you on that. But I would say that the way to approach this, if you decide that you have a certification that you want to put forward for promotion, is to not put it forward at the last minute, but go to your dean before you take it if possible. But if you've already taken it, you're going to have to provide an analysis of what it took to get that certification. For example, I can go and I can take a class in Microsoft Excel, and I can walk out of there for a day and come up with a certificate. But that's not what some of these certifications mean. There's some automotive certifications that are offered by General Motors right now that really put folks through the ringers before they get this certificate. So is mine the same as the one from GM? I guess it is General Motors. From GM? No, not at all. Not at all. But something has to be able to distinguish between those, and that would be the analysis of the complexity of the certification, what was involved, the actual seat time, contact hours, that sort of thing. But you need to talk about it to your dean before you put it forward. Now, there is not going to be any system equivalency developed. It's just impossible to do. We explored that possibility, and first of all, to do it is very difficult. To keep it up, to find a person to keep it up, it just, it wasn't going to work. And so it's something that is delegated to your college, and again, that's something that you will need to work out at a local level. Do you have any questions? If you turn to pages 5, 5A, 6, 7, and 8, I put those there just in case you weren't familiar with the policies that have to do with experience and how time is credited. Let me see if there's one in particular that I want to point out to you. If you make a substitution when you're hired, like sometimes, let's say that you have, let's just make up numbers. Let's say that you have 7 years of teaching, you're required to have 8, but you have more occupational experience, so to get you to a certain rank, they substitute. They take that occupational and put it into teaching. That change stays with you forever. You can't switch things around. Let's go the other way. If you're required to have a certain amount of related occupational experience and you take some of your teaching experience and use that to make up your related occupational requirement, you can't then substitute it back again for teaching. And that's what it says on page 5A. Once a substitution is made, it stays that way.
How will a committee looking at those applications determine what was substituted and what form will be in the document, the file to identify which things were used when they were first hired?
Well, there's a form that's called the VCCS 10 that was filled out when we were first hired. And it would document any substitutions or anything that was made. And that's in your personnel file and certainly available for you to look at if you would like to. I think I have about covered the main points that I wanted to make with you. Is there any that I made when I met with the deans that you feel like I should make to the group?
There's one that you might want to mention, because a lot of people think that job as well as a full-time job.
Okay. Every year has 1 year of teaching experience to it. 1 year of experience to it. If you teach full-time at Thomas Nelson and then you teach adjunct, the adjunct credit hours will not count towards a promotion. You can't get an extra amount of time for teaching adjunct. Does that make sense? You only get 1 year out of a year. This really comes into play more when people are being hired, because a lot of times they'll have a full-time job and then they'll teach adjunct on the side. And we'll say you can take credit for one or the other, but you can't do both as far as credit goes. So if you're thinking of that would help towards your years of teaching, for example, if you needed more for a promotion and you thought you could teach adjunct and that could actually count towards additional teaching years, it doesn't work that way.
And, but summer is a separate contract.
It doesn't count towards anything. It's just in and of itself. This, goes for your teaching is what happens during the contract year, the main contract year. That's considered your year. So if you taught so many summers, that's not extra time teaching that counts towards a promotion or anything.
Okay, back to, but the contract goes from August 16th to May 15th.
Mm-hmm.
So summer contract is a separate contract that could be part of another.
It's a separate contract, but it doesn't count towards promotion or anything else. It's just done. And the only things that count toward promotion is what happens between August 16th and May 15th. Those are your things that count.
What you just said triggered something, because somewhere in our documentation that it said that you could count anything that you would have experience up to completed July 1. And then they're gonna work 12 months instead of, they're gonna do the 9 months and they're gonna work in the summer. And they are not gonna count that summer as.
That's
completed
exactly
the year.
right. That's right.
If whatever.
You
they
work,
did.
you work 9 months. You work from, your contract time is from August 16th to May 15th. And for those months, you work the 9 months, but for retirement purposes, you get a full year's credit already. You've already worked a year for as far as retirement credit goes. See, well, Lisa and I are here, the rest of us are here working in the summer.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah,
Because I'm a librarian.
oh. You're different. You're on a 12-month contract. So you're not 9-month teaching faculty. Your contract time is different. So anything that I said, you have to work a full year to get a full year. You're not 9 months. That's the difference. I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
No, well, I was just trying to clarify it for teachers too, because somewhere in our instructions it said that because people don't know whether they're eligible to apply for the promotion this year, or they have to wait until next year because of the year, of the counting of the year.
I don't understand. Now, maybe, let me just make one other point. If you, let's say that that you're going to be taking a class in the summer that will make you fulfill your graduate hours that you require from a promotion, for the promotion, you can have your promotion on a contingency basis. It can be granted to you. And then come August 16th, you present the documentation that you completed the class and you've met the requirements. That's called a contingency promotion. But you wouldn't get the promotion if you didn't complete the class.
This is still not clear. So a person who has to have completed their year by May 15th, if they're a 9-month person, but if they're a 12-month person, it's by July 1 or
June
whatever they're
30th.
hired.
June 30th. Mhm.
June 30th.
Would you take a minute to look over everything that I've handed out to you and see if you have any last minute questions?
I have a question, and I thought I understood this, but then as we talked, I wasn't sure. On the table, the original table, let's say, for example, block 14. It says, and this is really small, so I think I'm reading these numbers correctly. Masters plus 39 graduate semester hours, and then parentheses, 36 graduate hours in teaching field. Is that 36 of the 39? Or is that 36?
It's the whole pot, and it's the masters plus the additional 39. You have all those credit hours swimming around in
So
one
if your
big pot.
master's
36 of them
already
have to be,
If your master's already had 36 graduate hours in your teaching field, you would have to-
yes. Mhm.
or 30 or whatever.
Mhm.
Okay.
Anybody else? Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it. And again, my offer is genuinely made. If you have any questions, let me know. And if you know of any of your colleagues that would like to get together and miss this session, I'd be more than happy to come back, help them out in any way I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you all for coming today.
Yeah, Rick Alexander.
The groups. Lisa. She's gonna beat me up. See, this is how Lisa walks normally. This is how Lisa walks normally.
Taking our pictures.